In continuation with the previous 4 videos, this is the last part of the series. So here we'll be discussing about the module 5 super important questions, and these are all the questions which I have selected from the module. So this is regarding the whole syllabus, and I recently got to know that the topics from here are not present in the syllabus. Means these 3 topics are not present in the syllabus, so you can skip that. Okay. So mainly we have 2 topics left, which is the Bezier curves, the super important topic about the Bezier curve, and the remaining topic, which is single keyboard, mouse, and Windows events and display lists. And yeah, these 2 topics. Okay, these 2 topics are the super important topics. So let's get started. We will discuss each topic one by one, and the super important topics will be discussed in depth. Okay, so if you like this video, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. And now let's get started, which is the first question, the explain various physical and logical input devices. Okay, so the various physical and logical input devices are, like, the physical input devices are keyboard devices and the pointing devices. Keyboard devices, we will press a button, and in pointing devices will point it exactly in the screen. Okay, so we have keyboard, it sends the ASCII values whichever character we press, and the mouse and the trackball, this is the mouse and this is the trackball for keeping track of the cursor position. And data tablets, we can directly write on the data tablet with the help of a stylus, and by using the light pen we can make the cursor point to in the particular position using another threshold detector. Okay, and joystick is another joystick for the gaming purpose. And we have spaceball, this is also another one which uses the mechanical features for the motion detection. So yeah, that's all about the physical devices. Coming to the logical input devices, there we have the software devices like the scanf and the printf, as well as some APIs are defined. Okay, so I have to write about the APIs. There are 6 APIs. String is for the string, locator is for locating the particular position, pick is used to pick the particular object, and choice is for which choice you want, and valuator is for calculating the value of what the user has selected. Stroke is for drawing a stroke line. Okay, and those are the APIs, as well as the input modes are there. There are 2 types, measure and the trigger. In the measure, we will be using the device value to return to the application program, and the trigger value will be having the signal to be sent to the computer. Measure will detect if there is any change, trigger will perform some action. Those are 2 differences, and example is for the measure is the keyboard, and for the trigger it is the mouse. Like when you trigger the mouse and click something, what should happen, that is defined in the trigger. Okay, and after that we have 3 request mode. They can ask the separate question also, like what are the different request modes. So I guess that's a separate question, as I have not mentioned that question here, but if they ask there are 3 separate modes, you have to write this one, the request mode. Request mode is not like it will perform the operation immediately. It will request, it will wait for some time, and then it will perform the operation. After explaining the theory, you have to make this diagram, very simple diagram. The trigger will happen and the measure will happen. After that, what is the response to be done, that will be performed. In sample mode, you will just have the immediate process. In sample mode, the immediate is a keyword. Whatever you do, it will be immediately performed in the program. And event mode is a series of multiple running events happening together simultaneously. So trigger will be there and the measure will be there. The event queue will be having the events set in a queue, and that will be connected to the program. So await and the event will happen accordingly. So these are the 3 types of modes you have to explain under the topic input modes. Okay, if they ask explicitly. In client and server, it's not important. Display list. Okay, so the next question is, I guess, display list. Explain display list and write a program to display a blue square. Okay, so what is display list? Like how we have arrays, right? In arrays, what we can store, we can store either the characters, boolean values, or the integers or the float values. In the same way, in the display list, we can store the objects. Okay, so that's what the display list is. It is a special purpose computer which is built using the display processor. Okay, so this is the architecture of it. Here we have the host and the display file, both are connected to the display processor, and that will be shown as the output. So this is the architecture which you have to make, and the display file or the display list consists of the list of objects which are to be displayed like in the form of array. And there are 2 modes in which you can draw. First is the immediate, second is the retain mode. As by the name itself, you can understand immediate mode will draw it immediately, retain mode will draw it after storing it in a particular place. And this is like cache. After you have drawn, you will not have that information, you will have to resend that information. In retain mode, it will store that information, it will draw, and whenever you want again, it will just take it from the same place. It will you need not have to send the information again. Okay, that was about the different types of modes. And what about the execution of display list? execution of display list, you first have to define the display list. So for that you will be defining a keyword like a box and the number assigned to it 1. After you have done that, you will create a new list and end list. In between that, you will define the figure. So in this figure we are drawing a polygon which is of color red, and there are 4 vertices also defined. This for the red color. In the question they have asked for the blue color, right? So for the blue color, what you will be doing is, this is the RGB value. Okay, R is 1, G is 0, B is 0. So for blue color, what you will do, you will keep this as 0, you can make it just make this as 1. So it will be displaying a blue square. These are the coordinate values -1, -1, 1, -1, 1, 1, -1, 1. So it will display a square which is inside the color as red. In this case, if you type as blue as 1 and red as 0, it will display a blue square. So that's all what you have to do in the program for the display list, as well as the definition and execution of display list. And to call the function, you will be using GL call list box. This is also important, you have to write this one. Okay. Next we have the question, write a program to draw a single animated face. Okay, this is one of the question, and another question is write a program to draw a rotating square. Both of them I will discuss it now itself. So to draw a single animated face, what you will be doing is, you will be doing like this. See, a face consists of 2 eyes, 1 nose, and 1 face, 2 ears, and 1 mouth, right? But here we will be just drawing the left eye, right eye, and the nose. Okay, for ears and the mouth you have to write it similarly, they have not mentioned here. So for that, what we will be doing, we will be defining different lists. So for the list of eye, we will be writing the eye code here, then we will be ending list. Okay, you also write this much only, it's sufficient. For the face, what we will be defining, we will be translating it into the left position, we will draw eye, then we will translate to the right position, we will draw an eye, and after that we will be drawing a nose as well. Okay, in the same way we will draw for the ears and the mouth, and then we will end the list. Okay, so this is just a simple basic overview of syntax, how you have to do it. And for the program where you have to draw an animated square, but before that they can also ask you to draw left, means when the right button is clicked you have to perform something, when the left button is clicked you have to perform something. For that type of question you have to come here. Here what you can see is the mouse function, right? If the mouse is left button and it is down, left button means this is the mouse, the left button is this one, and it is clicked means it is down. If the left button is clicked, what should be performed? Draw square. Like that only, if they ask you to draw a face, you have to draw a face. If they ask you to draw a blue square, you have to define the function. Instead of draw square, you have to write GL call list box. What it will draw? A display list where the blue box is defined, right? That you have to do. And if the right button is defined for exit, you will write it as exit 0. The main ingredient of the code is this one. This you have to not miss, and the remaining, which is in the top and the bottom, you can miss any, like not exactly you have to write the syntax, but this is the main thing what you have to write. Okay. And coming to the rotating animated square, it's actually a separate topic. Yeah, this is the rotating and animated square. Okay, so for that what we will be doing is, see, I'll give you the logic of it. Here 4 points are defined, right? And the theta values are also defined. So if you change the theta values, this point will be coming here, this point will be coming here, this point will be coming here, this point will be coming here. So for the by using a for loop, we can alter the theta value from 0 to I guess 180 degree. So it will be rotated by 180 degree, right? The same code is given here also. This is the code for defining the vertex values, and after that if you want to change, you will be using the for loop. Okay, so for loop is not defined here, but you have to use the for loop to change the theta values, and then you have to point means at that time the rotation of the square will happen, that program will be complete. Okay, so those were the 3 things what I wanted to tell. So because these 3 things are separately asked in the question papers, but not those 3 topics are not repeated much, but these 3 topics are asked. What I mean is, see, the first question is asked 2 times, second question is asked 2 times, third question is asked 3 times, but the same question is not asked 7 times. This same question is not asked 5 times. This same question is not asked 6 times. Like that it is not asked. Okay, but these 3 questions are asked like repeatedly. So I told you whatever I knew. Okay, so moving on, we have the next which is explain keyboard, mouse, and window events. Very important question. It's present page number 17. Let's go to page number 17. Here what you can see is 3 things we can see: program driven programming event driven input. Here we have 3 things: mouse, keyboard, and window. For the mouse, what you have to write is the mouse event. Either the mouse can be moved or it can be clicked. When it is moved, the measure value will happen. When it is clicked, the trigger value will happen. That's the first thing. After that, you have to write 2 functions, which is my mouse function, and the second one is glut mouse function. Okay, glut mouse function, my mouse function, those 2 will ensure that wherever you point, it will be pointing in the cursor. If you click, what should happen, that is also defined. If it is clicked from the right button or the left button, that is also specified here. That also you have to mention separately and write. If left button is clicked, exit. If right button is clicked, what you can do, that also you have to write here. Okay, and after that, this is the program. This is already explained. If time permits, you can write that one as well. That was about the mouse. Those 3 key points you have to write for the mouse, and for the keyboard what you have to write is you will be pressing the ASCII value. Which ASCII value is pressed, based on that what should happen. That is the main thing what they are expecting from you here. And there are 2 functions you have to write: glut keyboard function for events generated by pressing a key, glut keyboard up function when the event is released, means after clicking the button A in the keyboard, when you release it, it will be up function. So at that time what should happen, that will be defined. Okay. So if key is equal to q or q, what should happen, like that also you can define a user defined function my key, okay, which accepts the parameter key x and y. Also there is a callback function which is registered in the main function, which is glut keyboard function, just how you wrote glut my mouse function. That was about the keyboard. And coming to the window event, here basically you will be setting the size, height and width. So you will be using my reshape, and you will be passing the width and the height. And there is a sample program also here, same program what you studied in lab, and glut reshape function for refreshing what is to be displayed. And here are some extra points which you can use: either glut display function, post redisplay, or idle function. Post redisplay is used when there are multiple programs executing at the same time. Idle function is used when there are no events getting performed, only the same event which you are currently performing, that is only there. Use this one, else use glut post redisplay. And you can create a window and set a window by these 2 syntax: create window and the window name, and set window ID. Okay. So those were the key concepts what you have to mention in the keyboard, mouse and window events. Moving on, we have the menus and selection and picking in opnGL, a very important question. So what is a menu, how do you create it? Menus are nothing but it will be like a pop-up menu, and there will be actions specified and the links to the when you click where it should go. So the syntax is compulsory, you have to write like this. It will start from create menu, and it will be having menu entries, whatever the entry you want to add, the string value as well as the numbers assigned, that you have to do. And attach menu to which button? Right button. When the right button is clicked, it should show the menu, or the left button is clicked, then it should show the menu. That is getting defined here. After writing the definition of the menu and the code regarding the menu, explain each of these key points what I have mentioned here. So those you have to explain. And how do you implement that in the main function is, you will define a user defined function switch id, and id will be compared with which value it is, 1, 2 and 3. Based on that the menu functions will be called. And to display the menu functions, will be using glut post redisplay to refresh again and again the display. If you don't use this one, what will happen is, once a menu will be displayed on the screen, in 0.001 second it will again go, it will never come back. Okay. So refresh, what it will do is keep on displaying the menu when it goes. Okay. So those were the important things in menu. Coming to picking, picking means it will pick the object which is to be displayed, identify and pick the object which is to be displayed. For that you will be using 3 ways: either the selection using the hit list if it's present in cache, else you will be using the bounding boxes or extents where you will be defining the object which is to be displayed, or you can use 2 buffers, back buffer and extra rendering. Okay. In back buffer, what you will have, the recently used objects which will be stored, that will be used in the back buffer instead of having the depth analysis. Instead of that, you can use the recently used objects. Okay. So that's the 3 things what you have to mention in the picking. It is the logical input operation that allows the user to identify an object and pick the object, okay, for the displaying purpose or any other calculation. And the 3 difficulties are there that can be overcome using selection, bounding boxes, or usage of back buffer. So this will ensure that the operation which you are performing is done in a smooth fashion. Okay. And picking and selection mode is another one, like there will be having the render mode. Render mode is used to choose the select mode by passing the select value. You will be passing a select value, and based on that what mode you have to select, that you will be specifying. And when we enter the selection mode and render a scene, each primitive within the clipping window volume generates a message called hit that is stored within a buffer called namestack. Namestack acts as a cache, which is the recently used hits that will be stored in the namestack. And there is a function defined for the selection as well, so you can go through it. Here we have the init names, push name, pop name, and the load name. So whatever the recent things are used, it will first push, and then it will be initialized, and it will pop as well when it's not much recently used. And you can use the pick matrix to pick the positions of the object, like you are just cropping the image. Okay. For example, if you have this image here and you just want this part, okay, what you will do, first you will crop this image to this much, and then you will be separating it, and then you will be again cropping it to what point you want, and you will be displaying accordingly. So that's what the picking is. You are picking the important relevant concepts. That's the main key point you have to mention in your answer script. Okay. And there is a code as well, so it's a long code, so they might not ask to write the whole code, but you have to be able to explain the main logic including the small code snippets for each operation what I told. Okay. I guess that should be sufficient for the question, picking and selection mode. Okay. Then we have building and animating interactive programs and double buffering. What are the characteristics of interactive programs? and explain parametric non. Okay, this is the chapter. So here we have 3 questions left, which is interactive programs, and that there is a concept called double buffering. It's an important one, and characteristics of interactive programs. So characteristics, you can go through it. Need not explain. This is already explained, right, in the when I was explaining regarding the display list. So you can go to that part and see what I've explained there. So I'm not going to explain again. What is double buffering? Double buffering means you are using 2 buffers for the displaying of the lists. Okay, whatever the things you have to display in the output, you will be using 2 buffers. Okay, so why we are using 2 buffers? Because it will make it more faster, right? And as well as we will be using glut swap buffers. So if I give you an example of what actually is happening is, you have to display a boy, okay, and you have to display a apple. Okay, so what you will do, you will use 2 buffers here. In the first buffer you will be storing the apple photo here, and in the second buffer you will be storing the boy here. And when the display is done, this will be removed and the boy will be swapped here, and the new thing what is to be displayed, that will be swapped here. So that's what happens in the swap buffers and the glut buffers. So that's the main key concept you have to explain using an example for the double buffering. Okay, as well as you can use a timer at what time it should change, means the glut swap should happen, that is defined using a timer. Design of interactive programs, some key points are here, you can go through it. Moving on, we have the characteristic. Okay, these 3 things are done. Then we have the chapter which is curves. Okay, so here how many questions we have? Basically we have intro to curved surfaces and different type of curved surfaces, and the second part is the Bezier curves. Okay, these two, the second part is very important as compared to the first part. Okay, so at any cost don't miss about Bezier curves. Okay, so let's get started and finish the 2 parts. So coming to curves, you already know what is curves, right? It is a curved line. So it is not in a straight line. It can be in 2 forms, parametric form and non-parametric form. In parametric form, you will have the t parameters here. In non-parametric form, you will just have the functions of x, y, z and the coordinate values. Okay, that's about the introduction to curves, and their chordic surfaces. 3 chordic surfaces you have to know: the sphere, as well as the ellipsoid, as well as the torus. You have to know the diagram, equation and the explanation for that. Okay, so what is the explanation for the sphere? Sphere is like a circle, and it is having the equation x square plus y square plus z square is equal to r square, and the graph is like this. Okay, so if you can remember this one, remember, but I myself am not remembering this one because time is less, and what I'm remembering is just what I'm telling now. Wow, and the ellipsoid is there. In ellipsoid also you have to draw this diagram here, and the equation I'm remembering, and yeah, that's all, these 2 things. And the torus also I'm doing the same thing. This is the torus part here, and the diagram as well as the equation which is present here. Okay, at least remember this equation: x square plus y square root plus r axial square plus z square is equal to r square. Okay, at least remember this Cartesian equation for producing the torus, and after that you have to write something by yourself and write it neatly so that they don't get doubt or you have written some irrelevant concepts. So yeah, that's about the 3 chordic surface. It's an important question from exam point of view, so if you can make sure you practice this and go. And moving on, we have the next, which is the functions. See, this is the opnGL functions. Glut functions for sphere, wire sphere, solid sphere, wire cone, solid cone, torus, wire torus or solid torus. This also you can write in the chordic surfaces to fill the content. And teapot functions, and glue chordic surface functions, point, silhouette and fill, rings, partial disk, start angle, end angle, inside, flat, smooth. Okay, there is a function as well. If you remember any function from the lab program, like the 7th lab program, that will be helpful for you to write in this one. So let's come to the most important and the last topic of the module 5, which is Bezier curves. Okay, so firstly you have to write what is Bezier curves. Bezier curves is like there is an equation defined to draw a curve very smoothly. Okay, so who has designed it? It was developed by the French engineer Pierre Bezier to use in the design of Renault automobile bodies. First sentence you have to write like this. Then it is helpful in a number of properties that makes it highly useful and convenient for curve and the surface designs. Okay, 2 things are there: Bezier curves and the Bezier surfaces. Okay, mostly they have asked about the curves only, so I'll focus more on that. And then you have to write the equation. This is compulsory, you have to write from here. You'll consider a point pk which is having xk, yk and zk, which vary, and with k varies from 0 to n. There will be n plus 1 control points for n values. There will be n plus 1 control points for n values. That's the first point. Second point, write this equation. P of u is equal to, write 10 or 20 times, but don't forget to write this equation. Summation of 0 to n pk bz k comma n u, and yeah, u varies from 0 to 1. Okay, And after that, if you can write this equation and this equation as well, because in that you have used the Bezier curve, right? Bezier equation, and expansion for the Bezier equation is given here, and here you have used C of nk. C of nk expansion is given here. This is nothing but the combination, like the combination formula. C of nk is n factorial by k factorial divided by n minus k factorial. Okay. And after that, if you can write this one also, it will be helpful for you, but if you can't, it's sufficient that you will be writing this much. And you have to draw this diagram, compulsory diagram. You have to draw this all diagrams. Here what's actually happening is you will be starting from a point here. This is the starting and ending point. Here you have mentioned another point. So what happens is this curve will go like this and it will come to the end point. It will not meet here, but it will tend to meet it. Okay, like that only. It will go like this and you will come here. So these are the diagrams which you have to make for compulsory, and the program is also given here. If you remember the Bezier curve program, that will also help you to fill the contents in the answer script. So you can write that one as well. And properties of Bezier curve, this is also important concept. Explicitly they have asked the properties of Bezier curve. Okay, so there are two properties. The first property is that it connects the first point and the ending point. It starts from 0 and goes till n, and these are the equations. If you can remember the differential equations for the first and the second derivatives, that will also be helpful for you. And property 2, and it lies within the convex of the polygon boundary. Okay, it lies within the convex of the polygon boundary, and all the summation will be equal to 1. Other properties also include, like it is real, it is having 1 less than the number of defining points, means if it is n, this will be n plus 1, and the curve generally follows the shape of the defining polygon. Tangent vectors have the same direction as the first and the last program spans respectively. Okay, yeah, that's all what is there mainly in the Bezier curve. If you can draw this also, if you did not were not able to fill the content, like make a graph like this. It is reducing for degree 1, and it is for degree 2, it is like this, degree 3, degree 4, like that, something you have to draw. Okay, next one we have the Bezier surfaces. Also it's the same as the Bezier curve, but here we will have the double summation. From one is for the m and another is for the n, jm and kn, like that only. You have to write the same thing repeatedly, and you have to draw a diagram like this if you can. And there are opnGL curve functions. So Bezier curve functions, map enable and disable eval coordinate 1, map eval mesh 1, map enable, and these are the things which you can write if you can remember. They are spline surface functions as well. So in the exam they have asked explicitly regarding the Bezier curve functions as well in opnGL. Okay, so make sure if you can remember, but I'm not remembering this one because it's too much. So yeah, that's all what is there in the mainly in the module 5. So which all questions I told you to focus more upon. The first question which I have to focus more upon is the mouse keyboard window and the mouse events, display list, and menus and the selection in opnGL, double buffering. And coming here, these are the three things. Make sure if you can remember the diagram, equation and the theory part, as well as the graph, and then it will be helpful for you. And Bezier curve, that you have to not miss it any cost. Okay, you have to pakka learn this and come. Okay, so if you want more content like this, make sure hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.